Crow Killer by Raymond Thorpe and Robert Bunker. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Three River Books. So I just finished this. It's a very short read. If you are familiar with Jeremiah Johnson, you are going to love this book. This is as close to you're going to get as, I would say, an autobiography. Back in those days, they did not have as much record keeping as possible. We're talking about the 1800s, 24, all the way up to the 1900s, etc. There was not a lot of record keeping. There was no computers, no databases, that kind of thing. So a lot of these accounts were from his friends and the man himself, where he was interviewed at his later on in life. And again, Jeremiah Johnson was not somebody that was overtly, uses a lot of words, and you'll see that inside the book. The good thing about this is that the chapters are very, very small, and it's very easy to read, and it does have his harrowing tale. And just a background on who he was. When Jeremiah Johnson was very young, he was born in New Jersey. And back in those times, obviously New Jersey doesn't look the way it does now, but his dad would send him to farms to work very hard, almost to the point of exhaustion. He's a young boy, and he brought him up kind of tough and rough. And, his dad, being probably not the best of parents, was drinking, and he was abusive, etc. Well, when Jeremiah Johnson was a teenager, he said that he had enough, and he left New Jersey. He joined a whaling trip, or a whaler's type of work. So he would go out on the ships, and they would look for whales, and they would kill them and take their whale oil. Back in the day, that was how we, lit up our electricity or lamps. All right, so we used whale oil. Once that was done, he joined the Navy, and again, this is in his early 20s, where he decided that he wanted a career on the water, and he was very adventurous and still big guy, tough. He got into an argument with one of his lieutenants, which was an officer in the Navy, and he was punished for it. And then after he got punished for it, he was allowed to go on shore leave. And then once he went to shore leave, he never looked back. Now, a lot of this is going to take place in the Colorado area. You do see, and there's a map inside here where, I don't know if you could see that. It's not the best map in the world, but Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, the West, basically. The West was completely untamed in the 1800s to 1900s. There was a lot of Indian tribes. Indian tribes have been there forever, and the mountain men was sort of a way to scratch out a living. And all through this book, you can just see where none of these guys were rich, but they were rich in spirit, and they constantly had to survive, either through storms, through winters, through hostile Indians. They're scratching out a living in the West with a pack animal, a rifle, and traps. Amazing story. This is absolutely one of the best American true stories in Fathom. It is phenomenal. I would highly recommend this book. If you are somebody that is adventurous, then please go ahead and pick up this book. I know there is a movie out with Robert Redford, and it doesn't cover half of what Jeremiah Johnson, liver eater, is capable of. Now, this man was big. He was about 6'4", 260 pounds when they finally start talking about his physique. A lot of times he would take on these Indians with just his bare hands. Typically he had a Hawken rifle, and then later on had a repeating rifle, but the Hawken rifle was something that he could use, and he had a couple of pistols and a Bowie knife, and that was pretty much it, and his wit and will to live. There's stories in the book where he meets, the first time he gets offshore leave, and again doesn't go back. He basically abandons the Navy and says, screw this, I'm out for myself. He takes whatever money he has from the Navy. He buys a rifle and a horse and a couple of traps, and he is brand new. He's a greenhorn, and while he's in the forest trying to figure out what he needs to do next, Hatchet Jack comes up behind him, sneaks up on him, and he is a mountain man. Teaches him the ways of the mountain, which is a fantastic story to begin with. Kind of like bringing him into the Brotherhood. Teaches him how to be a mountain man, and then you meet other mountain men throughout the book, which is fantastic. It's a lifelong journey of friendship and camaraderie and danger. The settlers that were coming over were getting attacked by different Indian tribes. There was a big story about the crazy woman who is touched, meaning she's a little nuts, because she witnesses her husband, her daughter, and her son get murdered by Indians. And Johnson finds her and helps her to rebuild her cabin or lean-to. And he has, even though they are rough and tumbled guys, they always look out or do the best that they can. And because she is touched, the Indians will not go near her. Now, Johnson at some point has a relationship with the Flatheads, and the Flatheads, the chief officer, offers his daughter as his wife. And, he speaks enough Indian or uses sign language, and they agree. And he picks up his squaw, and they start learning. And apparently she was someone that he really liked, not because of just being pretty, but because she was good at living out in the mountains by herself. And Johnson marries her, takes her to her cabin, but for whatever reason, the Crow Indians decide to attack his cabin while he's not there. They wind up raping her, they wind up killing her, and taking all his stores. And that's a theme throughout the book, where the Indians are basically raiders. They find an easy target, and for them to prove their braveness, they will steal horses, they will steal everything, and they will rape the women, and they will take scalps. Scalps is huge. Throughout the whole book, everybody's getting scalped. But scalps are being sold for money, and that's the thing about being a mountain man, is that there's the money that you make in trapping, in furs, in scalps, is just scratching out enough money to buy more powder, more salt, more coffee, the little amenities that makes your life that much better. Nobody's getting rich. So Johnson's wife gets killed and murdered, and he also finds out that there's also a baby, because when he finds her bones, you can actually see the wife with the bones, and there's a little skull inside of her skeleton. So they killed her with the baby inside of her. So he goes on a vengeance, or they say taking the trail, and the trail is that Johnson has a vendetta with the Crows. And you'll see that throughout the book too, that if somebody wrongs you, you have to go and take care of it. There's no calling the police. You are the police. You are going to avenge that person or get on the trail to find it. And he kills all the Crows. He winds up with a bloody murder vengeance. But what he also does to mark it is he takes their liver. He literally cuts them open and takes their liver out and eats it and leaves it there. And what that's doing is telling the Crows that it was him. Well, the Crows, being a very proud tribe of Indians, say, well, we can't have this. He takes the best 20 Crows warriors and tries to individually seek out Johnson and try to kill him. But they can only do it one at a time because they don't want to lose face. Well, throughout 10 or 12 years or 15 years, he winds up killing every single of the 20 Crows that comes around. This guy is a badass. Navy SEAL, X, whatever. He's just a badass. He does not take shit from anybody. And most of the time that he's killing them, it's just basically with a Bowie knife. Or, he very rarely uses his rifle for that. He will actually fight fair. He has given Indians knives when they were caught up, and just says, all right, this is sing your death song because you're about to die. Like literally that kind of a guy. So, the book also goes into, his friends. Bear Claw is another one. Del Joe, I think his name is Del Jew, whatever. Also in the movie, kind of a French-Canadian kind of guy. I mean, these guys just lived the life. They roamed the mountainside. They're talking about how they can smell the Indians that are coming, and there's at least 7 or 8 tribes of Indians. The Blackfeet catch him one time, and when the Blackfeet catch him, they want to sell him to the Crows because they know that there's a bounty on his head. Well, they capture him. Johnson undoes his bindings, knocks the Crow out, takes the Crow's knife, because again they stripped him of all his possessions, and cuts off a limb, cuts off his leg. So he cuts the Indian's leg off and escapes with almost nothing except the leg and a knife. The leg winds up freezing over, and he finds himself in a cave. While he's in a cave, a mountain lion tries to steal his leg, and he takes the leg and smacks the mountain lion with the leg. Then a bear tries to wake him up, and he's pissed off, and he starts yelling at the bear and swinging his frozen leg. So there's just so many crazy stories about this mountain man, and the way the mountain man lived was rough and, brutal, but they all enjoyed it like a lot. And then for a short time, even at the end, he tried to live inside of a town, and he was a small-time sheriff. And even with that, they didn't like his policies or the way he treated people. He was very kind-hearted to children and women, and he was good that way. But if you pissed him off or you did something wrong, he'd let you know, and he's going to give you one warning, and then he's going to knock your teeth out or kill you. Very big dude, very well. He dies somewhere around the 1900s, and they buried him in a veteran's cemetery because he was a veteran. And then shortly thereafter, they moved his body to the mountains and replanted him where he wanted to be on the range in Colorado. That was his home turf. Lot of ups and down stories, lot of rendezvous, lot of interaction with the Army. He scouted for the Army quite a few times, again, just to make a little bit of money, so he would have provisions for the winter. But the way they worked was very simple. It was, hey, listen, all summer I'm going to hunt, I'm going to trap, I'm going to sell all my goods, so then in the winter, when the snow is over 7 feet, I don't really have to go anywhere. I could just kind of settle in. The partnerships and friendships were lasting forever. There was no reason why anybody would need for anything. If the Indians stole somebody's horses, they would call Johnson and their other mountain men, and they would go get it, and they would murder all the guys that stole from them and take their scalps and then sell their scalps. And that was it. It was the law of the mountains. Nobody's allowed to steal from you, and if somebody does, you have to go get it. It was just amazing. So awesome book. There are quite a few videos about Jeremiah Johnson. Again, read the book. It's history. It's actual history. It's not made up. This guy was written about by mostly eyewitness accounts. Again, there was no internet back then, but I could believe almost all the stories that were inside this book, especially since they were told by word of mouth by his friends. And again, they did come into contact with quite a few people that knew who Johnson was. Just an amazing book. Highly recommended. I would pick it up right now. I'll put the links down below if you want. I think it's like 150 pages. It's not that long at all. And just go read it. You're going to love it. It's a great book, especially now that it's getting cold outside. All right, guys, thank you very much. I hope you appreciated this video. Please like and subscribe. Become a Patreon member. It only costs you $1 a month to become a Patreon member, and you get to watch videos like this before anybody else and help support the channel. I will put the link down to this book down below. I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you purchase from me, you'll get like 2 cents on the dollar. So thank you for that. Thank you very much, guys, and as always, keep reading.